Hello everyone, and welcome to my garage. I wanted to step in front of the camera today to discuss something that happened quite a few years ago, actually. It was back in 2008 when I started this journey that I'm going to talk about. And there's actually a crappy video on my channel showing the end result. It was a time when I wanted to make my stock 2 valve run in the 7's in the 8th mile. We have 8th mile tracks here in my area, and my goal was to run 7's. So 799. And I'll tell you where I started from. The car was completely stock. I purchased it in 2004, brand new, and it's still right here behind me today, with all of 15,000 miles on it. However, back to the story. I started with your typical bolt-ons right after I bought it. I went and had an X pipe. I kept the cats though. I had a catted X pipe. I put a set of gears in it, 373s. I did a cold air intake. I did the throttle body and intake elbow, and I did the little spacer that you put underneath the intake elbow. Those 3 items are actually still on the car. Not the cold air intake. I have a supercharger now. But I also did underdrive pulleys, and I did a tune. I did the Super Chips Max Micro Tuner all the way from 2004. I had that tune on the car for many years, and it actually was a pretty good tune. So anyways, in 2008, with those modifications and at full weight with a set of Mickey Thompson 26 by 8.5 slicks, the car ran at 8:58 in the 8th mile. And so after it ran that, I thought, you know what, I believe I can make some changes and accomplish this goal of a 799. And at the time, I had a few people that absolutely said, your car will never run that. 2 valves do not run 7's. We've only ever seen one completely gutted that ran 7's. It's supposed to be stock. And with that said, it gave me motivation. So what did I have to change on my stock long block 2 valve with minimal bolt-ons to run 7's? So I started with, I had an aluminum drive shaft. I hadn't put that on there yet, so I put it on. And I removed the sway bar. I put skinnies on the front. And I took my leather seats out and replaced it with a RCI plastic race seat. And with those modifications, I took another 3/10 off the car. So I was in the 820s. Okay, after that, I knew I had to adjust the suspension. I was still completely stock suspension. So, and actually that stock suspension was a bullet suspension. I had switched it over to a bullet suspension. So what I did was I went and I removed the bullet suspension. I put the stock GT springs in the rear, and I cut 1 coil off of them. And that's still the setup that is on it today. And I also went and purchased a UPR coilover kit, and with the caster camber plates. So I put those parts on the car, and I decided to power shift. And then I got a shift light, and I set that shift light at 5,400 RPM, because on a stock cam 2 valve, you're not making any power after that. And so I probably shifted around 56, as you know, I'm not the quickest shifter out there. I still power shift every time I go down the track, but that's how I had to do it. So with that said, adding with your typical bolt-ons, the aluminum drive shaft, the suspension, the front runners or the skinnies on front, and removing the interior and putting the black plastic race seat in, one evening, I kept running a bunch of 8.0s, 8.05s, 8.06, I think an 8.04. And so, okay, what do I need to do? I had been adjusting the RPM launch at various stages. I was, started out at 4,500, and then I went to 48.5, and I was at 5,500. I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go for it. I'm going to go to 6,000 RPM and just see what happens. And sure enough, 6,000 RPM with the right weather conditions and hitting all of my shifts as good as I could, I was able to do a 798. And that gives you an idea of what a stock 2 valve can do. There are a few people I know that they're not the favorite of everyone. I love them. I mean, you can see the engine behind me. I've got my car back there, and I love those engines just because they're what can be accomplished with them. So for you guys that are considering running a 2 valve, what can I do with it? If you're willing to spend a little money on suspension setup and tires and weight reduction, and I'm not talking about stripping the car. I never did that. The car's still full of accessories. You can run 7's in the 8th mile. It's going to take some high RPM launches and some good smooth power shifting. But I just wanted to talk to you about that today, what I was able to accomplish, and I hope that gives you some motivation to do the same thing. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to posting more updates to the channel.